Hello, everybody. Welcome back to First Time Donor. This is, as always, the Charity Gaming Marathon, where we talk all about all of the wonderful ways that you can do good in the world using what you have right now. We have a pretty cool episode this time. It's kind of a continuation on the last one we did, where we talked about, how the hub format Zeldathon really took place. Um, so this time we're joined by one of our international attendees. We're joined by Inka, who joins us from Belgium, I believe, if that's correct.
Yes, that is correct. Hi.
And we got a really cool episode. So yeah, as always, I am joined by my wonderful co-host Monica.
Hey, I hope everyone's having a good day and things are going well for you.
Awesome.
And yeah, AJ and I were talking and planning about what to do for this one. And like AJ said, it's a two-parter because we really wanted to talk to Inca and just the amount of work this coordination queen put in to make the Lake Floria hub amazing. So let's get right into it. Inga, will you tell us how you first got involved in Zeldathon, and since then, is if there's anything that's really surprised you about charity gaming and anything of that sort?
Yeah, so getting involved with Zeldathon in a nutshell is basically my brother was watching Mindcrack in like the early days of Mindcrack, and that is how he came across Super MC Gamer, the director. And it was during the Orange Wool phase. That's the one thing I remember
Oh,
from him telling me that. And suddenly Zeldathon was on TV in our living room, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. I like Zelda games. Let me watch this. I think it was Zeldathon Water. And since then, I think I maybe missed one or missed partial stuff from Zeldathons, but I kept watching. Zeldathon slowly started becoming more active in chat, I think. And then after a while, I think it was after Shadow Temple joined, um, I was like, oh, hey, cool. He also streams. Let me check out his channel. Started frequently being, if I could make it due to time zones, I started
mm,
frequently watching his streams. Shadow Temple is another team member, by the way. Started frequently watching his streams and being an active member in his community. And in that community, I became good friends with other team member, Hipster Harbinger.
mm.
He then also joined Zeldathon before. I don't think. Yeah, I think I started watching Shadow before he was an official team member, but shortly after he was an official team member, became very good friends. Uh, Even ended up dating him. Still am dating him.
Let's
And
go.
he was like, man, like us dating. Besides, you have so like I'm telling his words. I'm not boasting myself. I'm telling it in his words. Like you have so much potential to come up with cool stuff for Zeldathon. I'm gonna recommend you to be a team member
Aw,
because I have a background in like summer camp, um, like providing programs for summer camp for kids, like coming up with silly ideas and silly stuff.
Let's
So yeah,
go.
that's how I got involved. He recommended me. I got accepted, and yeah, I wasn't a creep. I was accepted.
I'm so happy that you were recommended
Yeah.
too, because
yeah. I think you demonstrated that potential too at this during this past event. As we said, you put in the hours
Yeah.
figuring out how to get Belgium involved.
Yeah. But
not
yeah,
just Belgium, though, but Europe too, and
True,
coordinating
true.
with everyone there.
yeah. And I think you also asked if there's been anything that surprised me about the marathon
Mm.
from going from a viewer to like an attendee perspective, just the amount of work everyone
Oh
puts
yeah.
in it. Like everyone. It baffles me. Every time I explain it to in real life people, as I would say it, they're always baffled. Like, what? How? What? This is all voluntarily? Like, yep.
Agreed. And I think that's where it works well for Zeldathon is just we can pull it off because the amount of volunteers that we have making it possible.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas some other events that are huge and like you see so much work going into it, it's because a lot of them have paid staff. Like GDQ, I
True.
know, is staff. So it's their full-time job. Whereas we're all just a bunch of people who, yeah, want to volunteer some of our time and do good with what we have.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Nice little circling back there.
You got to pop it in whenever you can.
We got a brand. So a nice little, to steal one of your most favorite phrases, Monica, that was a nice segue into my question.
Let's go.
So being one of our international attendees, Inka, what were, like, with this, specific most recent marathon, Zeldathon Ascent, what were some challenges or maybe just interesting occurrences that resulted from the distance from, most of the other hubs being in relative North America?
I think the main difference, and I think we've talked about it along the EU attendees, is the directors do an amazing job, but all of the guidelines are North American centered, and that makes
Sure.
complete sense. But then it's always like a waiting game of, do I want to pester one of the directors with like, hey, does this apply to us, yes or no? Because I know you're busy, but this also like fully does not apply to us. It's always having the extra step of seeing like, okay, this is what they recommend, and they have written down as rules, things, and then what does what do the other countries in the EU recommend on that same thing, and what does the country where we'll be staying recommend on that specific thing? And it's just all the guidelines being North American centered, but it makes sense, and
Sure.
we made it work with the help of like all the EU attendees.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that, but yeah, you're absolutely right, especially in the midst of, the pandemic. There's every country handles it differently, every continent handles it differently. It's so I'm sure there were some things in there that were, like, oh, don't do X thing because here we're not supposed to, when maybe there you can, or maybe it's different there. That's interesting. I hadn't thought about that. Thank you.
Yeah, like COVID did not make this easy.
Yeah,
at all.
that was the general consensus, it seems.
I think at one point I was looking at rules of 5 different countries for everyone who was
Jeez.
originally planning on coming in.
Wow.
Like, what is the situation there? What paperwork do they need to get in order? Do they need to get tested, yes or no? If so, where in my near vicinity do I have testing availabilities?
Forgive my North American ignorance, but how difficult is it to find the rules and guidelines in your language, like what you speak? So in Belgian, is it easy to find the guidelines for other countries, or do you have to do a bit of digging? Or
It depends. So for the UK, that was something with Iris and Scott, 2 of the attendees that ended up coming to the hub. It was easier to find rules on a Belgian website for them returning to the UK than it was finding rules on the UK website, which was odd.
Right.
But
You wouldn't expect
cool,
that.
I guess.
Yeah.
I also have the advantage that because of my in real life work, I am very much involved with COVID and the handling of COVID. I'm not going to go very much more into it, but I had to follow it up pretty closely. So I was always pretty well aware of the rules and where to find the most accurate ones. So for Belgium itself, it wasn't too hard because I knew where to look. But yeah, for some of the other countries, it was harder.
Sure.
yeah, Canada, personally, I feel like we're always digging, and then it's the thing with Canada is it changes. It feels like on the daily here. So
Yeah. Changing a lot in the States as well. But yeah, that's a good point. Finding, I think us in either like you in Canada, me in the US, in general, North Americans often find it kind of hard to grasp the idea that like Europe is not a country. Like it's not like European countries or states and they all function the same way. Like, they each have different rules and guidelines and often languages and language barriers and things along those lines. So
Oh yeah, language. That was also a thing. Like for
I'm
everyone
sure.
coming, I was gonna prep a little cheat sheet of if they wanted to go to a store. We have a store in walking distance. If
Nice.
they wanted to go to the store, so like for allergy purposes of food allergies and just regular phrases.
Oh,
I
interesting.
was gonna make a cheat sheet. I didn't end up doing it because for the people who were coming in, I don't think it was needed, and we had most of the things there.
Hmm.
Aw, I love
Um,
that.
Yeah.
but yeah, that was on my to-do list that ended up never getting done.
See, this is though still why I call you the coordination queen, because when I traveled and was spending some time in China one time, I didn't think to download a translation app beforehand, and I went there
Oh.
with an Android,
Oh
and
no.
to my utter surprise, you can't open the Google Store in China.
Oh.
So I lived a life of Pictionary and charades for
Oh
three
my
months.
gosh. 3 months.
Yeah, three
Oh
months
my
of
gosh.
Pictionary and
Yikes.
charades.
Were you like staying with anyone who spoke English, or was this just?
No, I was in an international student dorm, but it was okay. I got
Wow.
by. But like I said, Inka is the coordination queen.
Right. That's tough.
And then that kind of leads into my next question. So, how did you come to host a hub? Did you volunteer or did it happen a little more serendipitously?
Oh, there's the word.
So it ended up being also just advantageous on my end. So the plan was for me to go to so a hipster visited in the summer of 2021 after not seeing each other for a year and a half because of COVID. And it was supposed to be the plan for me then to go to the States, to go to Zeldathon and spend Christmas at his place. But by the time he went back home that summer, I was still not allowed into the US
Oh.
Oof.
with
Yeah.
my vaccinations that I received. I was vaccinated with AstraZeneca.
Mm-hmm.
That was not yet like allowed.
Yeah.
I
that
think
took a
just no
while.
one was allowed back in if you weren't a citizen.
Mm-hmm.
So we were like, do we want to like risk it? Yes? No? Maybe it's just easier if you come back for now for this Christmas and then we'll see what Zeldathon does. It's not looking good currently with COVID.
Yeah.
And like we were already playing with the idea of like maybe we can ask MC if everyone else is at the hotel if we can like jump in with like just a local EU hub. That might be fun for those who are like still not allowed into the US. That was the main thing. I was like, if the US is not gonna allow people, then we're stuck.
Right.
So we were like, we might as well start prepping something even before the directors have like made a decision on something, because if we have to wait, and I think it was November by the time they decided it, so pretty late. So we were like, yeah, might as well. So I started asking my parents even before the directors even dropped the word hubs, like
Yeah.
if it would happen, are you guys okay with people coming over here just after Christmas? Because I still live with my parents. They were
Right.
like, sure.
Nice. Yeah.
So yeah, I kind of did it. It was pretty easy for me to say like, hey, we have this space here, we have the guest room space here, and then thinking about every other EU attendee, it made the most sense also space-wise and then also location-wise, since I probably was one of the more like central locations EU-wise.
Sure. Nice. Yeah, I actually it's funny that you said that too. The idea of like before we even really decided on the hubs format, thinking, oh, can we like call in for a kind of like virtual hub experience if y'all are at the hotel? Because I think that's actually what ended up happening with the Link's Awakening run, right? It was like a
Yeah.
split hub view. That was really cool. I
Yeah, I
really
loved
enjoyed
that.
seeing
The
that.
technical side behind that was also hilarious, because I think we had like little computer speakers behind the couch, like faced in a direction, so hopefully the mic wouldn't pick it up, but we could still hear the Discord call. It was
Aw.
like the things we did to make it happen and like still be able to talk with the other side was funny.
Yeah, that's always a difficult conundrum to have to fix when you need to hear what someone is saying, but they need to hear what you're saying, but you're mic'd up, so like they can't be too loud. Yeah, I get it.
I think Hubs really showcased the creative side of our team more so in just what you were doing in your run, but also creative solutions for making things
Right.
work. Because shoutouts to Stinus, another team member, our tech wizard, and I think
True.
it was great that he was able to be there at the EU hub. Thank
Oh, yeah.
goodness.
That was great. It was like the desk chair was his seat. I'm like, go, you go, claim that seat.
And just like thinking of the amount of coordination that goes into making something like Zeldathon happen, especially happen from remote multiple hub locations rather than just if you're one person on your own sitting down at your computer and streaming a Tiltify fundraiser. It's so much easier to do that.
Right. Especially if you're only one person, because you can just slap headphones on and solve 99% of your audio issues
Oh,
right then
yes.
and there.
I think that's partially what the Swedes ended up doing with us being virtual backouts for them for the Twilight Princess run, I think. I think they both were in the Discord call but had headphones in, so they wouldn't have to deal with the audio on their side at least.
Yeah, that makes sense for sure. It's the easiest solution, but in a group scenario like this, it's not often practical to be like, yeah, we're gonna put headphones on 6 people who all need to be on camera. That's tough for sure. Oh, we lost Monica.
Oh no! Bye, Monica!
She's gone. Internet is dead. That's all
The
right.
hot water took
I've
over.
been
Cut this-
restored.
Oh, you're back. Don't worry, we'll cut this part out.
Thank you. I was so scared. My internet has been on the fritz lately, and yeah, this is a reason why I've held off from getting involved in the multi-world that happened last weekend. I was
Oh, yeah.
so scared that was gonna happen, and I was just gonna bork the whole run by like not getting items to people. Anyways, that aside, sorry.
Right. Well, anyway, do you want to continue with your next question, Monica?
For sure. So I missed the end of how you answered, but this one was related to hubs again, and I was wondering, like, if it came down to it again, would you be willing to host a hub again? Like, no pressure or
Right.
anything. I'm just like, I purely
not
like,
set
out
in
of
stone.
curiosity. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you send me the questions, because like behind the scenes they send you the questions beforehand so you can think about it. I saw the question and I was like, in essence, yes, but, and then I got thinking. So the hub that ended up happening was during the winter period here, and that was fine. Like the room heated up, but not to a point where it was uncomfortable because of all the lighting, all the like the computers going, TVs going, like all the
Sure.
equipment going. Like it was doable temperature wise. But then I got thinking, just in general, winter hubs could probably happen again if needed. But I think a summer hub, on
Ugh.
a practical standpoint,
Yeah.
the
It's not
sleeping
feasible.
arrangement could be feasible because we are very lucky, or I am very lucky, that both my room and the guest bedroom that's next to my room have air conditioning. But the main room where we would be, like where the marathon was, does not. And I think it would have been horror
Sure.
if
sure.
we had to try and keep that cool.
Understandable.
So yeah,
Yeah.
and then specifically for this summer, I think we're pretty set on me trying to visit the States in like over
Aw.
2 years.
Yeah.
Yay.
So I very much wanna be able to make it to a Zeldathon in the States again.
Sure. Yeah, I think that is definitely the end goal for just about everybody involved. I think we all want to see a good old fashioned 80 people in the same hotel marathon when the day comes that is deemed safe, which, hopefully is soon. We'll see. The states are definitely easing up a little bit on COVID protocols, but, whether or not it's safe is still ultimately a director decision, and I get that.
So far, numbers are going in the good direction.
They are.
Knock on wood, hold wood, whatever the phrase is.
I might cut that out. I don't know.
If we're in the process of potentially cutting that out, I also want to say thank you for the raid, Shadow. Welcome for joining into the podcast. We appreciate you, and we appreciate
thank you for disrupting it and making my life in post harder.
I believe in you, AJ. Thank you for doing all the editing.
You can do this.
It's all right. It's part of the gig. It's fun. Anyway, I have a question now, actually. So, Zeldathon is and has been for quite some time one of those like 24/7 charity marathons. For those unaware, for those who have not caught a Zeldathon before, we stream 24 hours a day. It just keeps going. At an in-person event, like a fully in-person event, this is usually okay, as most people end up, like sending a torpedo into their sleep schedule that is powerful enough to the point where they could feasibly stay awake from 3 to 10 a.m. But, even in a scenario like that where people are coming from different time zones and, people are having 6 a.m. hotel breakfast for dinner, that still is very often kind of like a low power situation where, especially those kind of 3 a.m. to 10 a.m. hours where a lot of people are asleep and maybe the people who are awake are a little hazy, not really like fully awake or just counting down the minutes until their shift ends. But, this past marathon was a very unique one in that sense, that a lot of people feel like we kind of not fully eliminated that problem, but took some serious steps towards fixing it as, people who were not hosting a segment were not on stream, so they could sleep whenever they wanted. A lot of people could maintain relatively similar sleep schedules. And I wanted to ask you about this because, you were in there were a lot of different time zones that came together for this event. But, being in Belgium is definitely a pretty extreme difference from, like the East Coast US. So do you feel like that time zone difference for you and maybe the other EU hubs as well, if you're able to speak for them, were able to kind of compensate for that usual low power time?
At first, I was like, when the decision of hubs was like officially made, I was like, it sucks that we can't all be together, but I get it. And then I'm glad we can be in a hub forum. And then the biggest positive point of that, I was thinking like, oh man, it's gonna be so great. No one is gonna have like early graveyard shift or like midnight shenanigans. Amazing. But in reality, that didn't end up being that easily done. So we ended up a lot of midnight shifts in the EU hub.
Like your time midnight too?
Yeah, our time midnight. So we just ended up with midnight shenanigans a lot of the time. But yeah, it was like the midnight shenanigans have their charm.
Oh, absolutely. Like
I feel like it wouldn't be the same if everyone is always fully chipper.
Exactly. Like
it has its charm.
There's a real charm to like 6 a.m.
Agreed.
jokes.
Agreed. I think that's what I was gonna say. One of my favorite things is when you get that brief Venn diagram overlapping moment of the late night shenanigans crew, and you're like on one of the super early morning ones, and you catch a glimpse into that, and you're like, what is happening?
We've been doing
you come
this for
into
6
stream
hours.
room and you're like, what is happening here?
We still had that same experience this marathon because as Hipster, another team member, mentioned, there was a fart measured like
was
the temperature on a
bit?
thermometer. It was a late night bit, but it was also a donation incentive, of course, because these are the type of late night shenanigans we get up to at Zeldathon. We're not a GDQ. We run a little more fast and loose late night at Zeldathon. So Yeah, and
rules
then
lax up a little bit, you know.
that was right before Rom Scout and I were going to play the Oracle, so we were awake watching the stream, and like we had just woken up, and this is what we woke up to, and we're like, "What is happening?" Yeah, Rom Scout is another team member who I ran the Oracle randomizers with, and yeah, what a morning experience to see that.
Man.
That's how our day began.
Yeah, but yeah, on like time zones and even very much more the period of the marathon that was happening and that maybe not everyone thinks about. So for all of those EU people, we all know that, or most of us know that in the States, everything is open 24/7, basically. Like, there's only a few days when stores are not open. That is not the case in
Oh.
Europe and in most countries. So stores here open like earliest ones at 8:30, like supermarkets, and then close at like 6 if you're lucky, maybe one day in the week.
Whoa.
Like one day in the week, maybe until 8 or 9, depending on the store.
Wild.
And then even worse, because we were at the holiday period.
Yeah.
And so on, I think, New Year's Eve, it was open until noon. And then the next day, it wasn't open at all on New Year's
Oh.
itself.
Well, I guess, yeah. it's
So
nice.
I was also very lucky that I have an amazing mother. I'm just gonna boast them again. I have amazing parents who let me do all kinds of shit and shenanigans in their house. And my mom, bless her, all the times that I could not make it. Like I did a big grocery run at the start, but if we ended up still needing something, I was like, Mom, can you bring this to the store and just like save the receipt on what we have to pay? So
Aw.
bless her. Like hype for my mom for
Yeah.
bringing us all the things we need when we were asleep because of our schedule sometimes. And I wouldn't have made it myself, or I would have had to get up like mid-sleep or something. So my mom like was the hero in this scenario and just went to the store for us
I love
a
that.
few times to get some staples.
I think a lot of hubs, maybe not a lot, but like there were at least a couple hubs that were hosted at like a team member's parents' or family's house. And I think those hubs tended to experience that. Like parents stepped up in a way that, you know,
Aw.
we have not really seen before because they're not usually at the marathon. You know, we have our Zeldathon parents. You know, Liz is everybody's mom. That's the joke. But I was happy to see that like other Zeldathon moms and dads kind of stepped up this time in a more literal sense. It was very reassuring to see. It was really sweet.
I know I ended last week thanking all the hub hosts and their families too, but yeah, agreed. Like it's just so nice that you all were willing to open up your houses for the wacky shenanigans we get up to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, very much. Like, I think my parents sometimes, like, they don't fully grasp it, what Zeldathon is, I think. It's like, like, we somewhat know what it is, and, like, mostly know what it is, but sure. You go.
That's good.
You go raise money
Right.
with
It's for
friends.
charity. Yeah. That's the important part. So I think my takeaway then from this is maybe instead of, you know, if you have international attendees to a marathon like this, one would think that the rational decision would be to you know make schedules so that just about nobody would have to have, you know where I'm going with this, nobody would have to have you know, like these crazy late night hours or anything because of the different time zones that they're in, and theoretically that's possible. I would like to make the argument that you should make more of them instead of jumping forward in time across a time zone to skip skeleton hour. You should go back and do it again so we get more bits like an IR thermometer being used on Jackson's fart.
Incredible. Honestly, I was thinking about it too when we were discussing it, and truth be told, because I had to wake up at 3:30 to get ready to start playing a game at 4:30, or like I took some ridiculous sleep schedule and like a nap in the middle of the night or something. Like it was some sort of ridiculousness, but that made it feel like a Zeldathon in person.
True.
Just like making it an absolute dumpster fire of my sleep schedule,
Oh,
but
yeah.
but making sure I am still sleeping.
Yeah, yeah. We definitely experienced that a lot too. I was excited to not destroy my sleep schedule because I was like, wow, look, we only have like 3 total segments at my hub. This is gonna be easy. I can just sleep whenever I want.
Debated.
It's still that. Yep. It doesn't work that way. It never works that way.
Nope.
No sleep schedule is safe.
So, Inka, what was your favorite thing about hosting a hub? And then what was something that ended up surprising that you're like, I'm not a fan, if there is anything at all?
Like, favorite thing was seeing friends again.
Oh, yeah.
That
Aw.
was so much fun, just seeing friends again, and being able to like. I've only been to one Zeldathon before in person, so being able to experience that again was like have that feeling somewhat again was nice. And one of the favorite things, and I feel like I've had that a lot through my life, is one of the favorite things I had is it was at my house. So I think for some other people, like when you're in a hotel, you have a neutral zone where everyone comes into, and you just set up rules, and everyone is just like, okay, these are the rules in the neutral zone. This is fine. So one of my favorite things is I'm in my own house. I know where everything is. I know where like what I can do. Like great, I'm in my own house. I have the comforts of home. I have everything I want here. Like no suitcases, no traveling. Great. That was also the least favorite thing at the same time because
Oh.
it's my home, but it's not my house. It was my parents' house. So even though
Right.
they were kind enough to like let me use it, I'm still like, okay, I need to make sure that all of the like little rules you put on yourself and like little things you do in the house that you have over the years done your way, you have then you have to quickly then convey them to other people entering your house. And
Sure.
it's hard when you're in a not neutral zone, so to speak. Other people come in, and when they don't immediately do something that you've been used to for years, it's like instinctively you want to think like, what? Why are you doing this like this? No, panic, and you just have to let that go, and that is hard sometimes. Like they
Yeah.
don't know all the rules. I try to explain as much as possible. Like, hey, for this is done this way because of X. This is done that way because of X. Try and keep an eye on it if you can. So it's like a blessing and a curse when when people come into your house.
Sure.
If that
sure.
makes sense.
No, I get it. Like, your house is there's kind of like the social norms of your house, even if it's your house that you're like, for instance, like if I were to host a hub in my apartment, that would not be a good idea. There's not enough space here. But in a theoretical world where I could do that, like there are little things that you like about your house and the place that you live that like are not immediately obvious to other people. Like I like my pillows being neatly arranged on my sofa. And someone might, sit down and move the pillows around and get up and leave the pillows there. And I'm like, I know I have no reason for you to expect that I would like you to put the pillows back, but I would. So I get it. Yeah, that can be
That's exactly the feeling I had.
it can be a source of stress for sure.
Yeah, and
That
just
makes
also
sense.
being the logistic hub for everything. Like, okay,
True.
is this still mainly food wise? Then I think we also had a horrible weather. Like, I think if it was
Oh
somewhat
yeah.
better weather, I would have more been inclined to say to people like, hey, just walk to the store and get something if you're like hungry or something like that. But it was awful weather.
Oh.
And like I said, we had the horrible like schedule in combination with our store being open. So just
Right.
logistically thinking and making sure everyone has everything they need at that point. Or like, sudden tech issue. Do we have X cable or do we have X equipment to try and solve it?
Yeah.
But luckily, for at least for tech stuff, luckily my brother was an official guest past marathon,
Nice.
and he was also there to like keep an eye on tech. And also bless my brother. Thank you, Sebastian, for
Aw.
helping setting everything up. Thank you.
Can I just say, you like I popped off at the beginning of the episode about you being the coordination queen, but truly, truly a title deserved because I could not tell any of that on the other side
Right.
of the Atlantic because it like the EU hub, Lake Floria, like everything looked seamless. You crushed
did.
it.
It really did.
It's like we had our soup competition going on. Well, just not it was it was a competition where the points didn't matter,
Yeah.
but we were all making soups at different hubs. And like just the EU game for everything when we were all sharing pictures was so strong. I'm like, dang.
Yeah, like prep started early because the rooms we were using were a mess. Like
Oh,
there was a toilet got replaced. There was
Oh my
painting being
gosh.
done, like repainting of the little staircase hallway. Lots of cleaning, very much lots of cleaning. Making sure beds are okay. Like my brother was like, "Hey, you know what? There's gonna be a GameCube segment. Let me just buy a what is it called? A Wavebird, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Let me just
Yeah.
buy that, or let me like buy an HDMI adapter for the GameCube." And I'm like, "You don't have to. You don't have to. Like we can ask." He's like, "No, I was probably gonna buy it anyway. Let's just buy it." And I was gonna like I was thinking about upgrading my personal computer myself, and then when the decision of the hub came, I'm like, yeah, might as well do it now. Yeah, let's buy
time.
it. Let's buy it. It's time. So there was a lot of like very early ad prep.
nice. Yeah, that's honestly, yeah. I know we've said
Yeah,
this
I'll-
twice now, but the coordination queen over here. I not only was this, your family's house and there were all these people in it, but you're also like practically renovating it at the same time. And none of this. How many people were at your hub again?
Like I also had to make sure an American came to Belgium safely, so that was also something during cleaning.
Oh, sheesh.
So ended up at the hub was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 people. It would have been 8. So I had room for 8 people to sleep, technically, but the Swedes didn't end up weren't able to make it.
Sure.
And the Brits ended up not staying the full time, so they only stayed for a little bit.
Okay. So yeah, it was like between 4 and 6 people. It sounds like
Yeah.
for the most part.
But then also, because I also wanted to make sure there was like some type of activity scheduled for everyone there, and like hopefully everyone who was gonna be able to make it. So since the Brits were the 2 people who were definitely coming in a shorter time span, like if the Swedes were able to come, they would have been the full time span, but the Brits were the ones with a shorter time span. And for some luck, there was like one little gap of time where it fit perfectly for us to have a mini spa outing.
Oh, that's so
Aw, I
fun.
love that.
There are like in Belgium we have a concept of private spas, so you just rent out a private spa for a few hours, and then it's completely for you and your group that you enter that with,
Aw.
and no one else enters. So we had access to like a pool, a sauna.
That's so
That's
nice.
so cool. Yeah.
Such a good way to have like wind down time to like
Oh,
take
yeah.
a step back from the marathon, which I know is something a lot of us struggle with when we're at the marathons.
Right. I could have used a spa day after like 4 days at that hub for sure.
It's good
yeah.
to take breaks.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, with some luck, with the schedule and then openings for that spot, we ended up grabbing a spot that worked perfectly.
Nice.
So, relatively speaking then, your hub was like pretty small, especially compared to a normal marathon. And by that extent, all hubs are pretty small. But did you feel like the kind of like scaling down in size affected like the overall feel of the marathon? I mean, I guess both from like an attendee and a viewer standpoint.
I think because of it was a pretty big space here, but also not huge. So like comparison wise, it felt equally full, quote unquote,
Sure.
as probably other spaces. So like more than 8 people would have been
Yeah,
in this little
understandable.
space.
Right. Sure.
So yeah, and I feel like as in we were smaller, but I feel like in our small size we were very overproduced,
You really were.
very much.
It looks
'Cause
great.
I think we had the hardest time getting the right tech in our space, since all the hubs in the States could like benefit from the tech Zeldathon has already,
Uh-huh.
because most of them were like in the area too, or had enough streamer people close by that had
Right.
enough of the tech. But like lights wise and like audio wise, that was the main thing, and like camera wise, and we were like, we're gonna have to just rent it. It's not gonna be, and like it ended up being a 4D camera,
Wow.
3 like LED light panels. And I was getting that equipment, and I'm like, this is so overproduced.
Hey, if you're gonna do it right, It's
Yeah, exactly. And I was very glad the backdrop also got in time.
Oh, right.
And we have a wooden ceiling that we can hammer anything in it. That's a fun thing about the room downstairs. We can like fuck with the ceiling, whatever we want. So we were just able to pin it in. That was very fun.
That works out nicely then. Dang.
We had the cool couch, but that is also thanks to my parents. We had the recliner couch.
Nice. Yeah, you'll love to hear it.
So yeah, we were very overproduced for being the size that we were.
Nothing wrong with that. I'm sure from a viewer experience it was appreciated.
Yeah, and that was like the running gag in our little group. Like we're very overproduced.
Too much production value. It's too good.
It's too good.
I think, yeah, in comparison, the Eldon Volcano Hub, we felt like we were the Smoke and Mirrors Hub. Definitely not overproduced.
In like Jamie's apartment,
Yeah, oh my god.
3 people.
Then
I
you
would agree.
tape up the backdrop to the wall.
Sure did. That was, yeah,
Hey,
it was MacGyvered to
I-
the back wall.
I would never have been able to tell, so I gotta respect it.
Our hub, it worked out perfectly just because both Jamie and Ramscott are 2 other team members that know so much more about stream, like infinite knowledge about streaming, and
For
I know
sure.
nothing about streaming.
Well,
And I'm like, hey, I'm crafty. I can figure out hanging up a backdrop. So it worked out as a good balance for us, luckily,
Yeah.
to pull off the last minute change hub. And shout outs to the other last minute change hub, Fun Island, Femtastic Maria,
Yes.
and OC, 2 other team members at the last minute ended up having to stay there and
yeah.
throw together their own little hub, and they nailed it. It was so fun to watch
Let-
the Twilight Princess.
It
and-
was.
Let me get a cool behind the scenes on that. So since they weren't able to make it, they ended up making the Fun Island. And OC was like, yeah, we're not gonna just sit on chairs. We're gonna do the full Zeldathon experience, and I'm gonna order a mini couch. So he
Oh,
ordered
really?
a mini couch.
Oh my gosh.
Aw.
He
OC.
ordered a mini couch, and then was like, we should be able to like use this, pack it back up, and then send it back. Like I don't
Yeah,
have the
return
space
it.
for this in a regular like time, like in my regular life. So we're just gonna use it and send it back. But there was a small scare because during European New Year's, like the coming in of the New Year's, they had chocolate milk, so chalky milk to toast. And then
Aw.
at one point during Maria's run, one of the chalky milk glasses fell over.
No, on the
Thank-
couch.
Thankfully, they had like a sheet over the couch, and it didn't leak through, but that was
Saved.
a little bit of a scare. Like, are you gonna be able to send it back now?
That's actually
yeah.
not a bad idea though. Like for hosting events like this, if you need weird things like furniture that you don't really want to keep, I can't like fully recommend that because something like the chalky milk incident could happen and you might not be able to return it. But that's kind of smart. That's kind of meta.
Are we gonna plug that idea to MC? What if we find
marathon.
seven companies for like each of the 7 days, and then just have a new couch every day?
And then
just
return
send
them
it back,
all
yeah.
at the end of the marathon. Zero cost couch.
Zero cost.
Now you two are giving me sponsorship ideas for pitching furniture rentals. So thank you for
Zeldathon is
that.
sponsored
Honestly,
by
like-
IKEA.
Like showroom models from local from local like companies. Be like, hey, what if?
Right. We just plug your furniture every once in a while. Be like, oh, like, man, normally my back would be killing me. I've been sitting down for this long, but fortunately we're sitting on this whatever couch. I love that idea, actually. Monika, I'm very glad you're a sponsorship person, so I don't need to turn around and tell our sponsorship person this.
That goes on top of the list.
Yes, top priority.
Thank you. I'm trying to make some magic happen. We'll see. You never know.
If anyone can make magic happen with this, it's you.
Thank you for believing in me.
We all do.
So I know, we're getting close to wrapping up. So I want to say, Inka, thank you so much again for opening your home. Thank you
Right,
to you
first of all.
and your family.
Yes.
Yeah. And thank you so much for having that happen to make an EU hub possible for all of our EU friends and volunteers.
I suddenly came up with also one of my other favorite things about a hub. I'm sorry I'm butching in.
No.
But one of the
No,
favorite thing
please.
about just hubs in general was the inclusion of pets everywhere.
True.
Yes.
So
I
many
love
hubs
that.
had pet cams. It was great.
I love my cat is
That's
very
awesome.
whiny or has gotten very whiny, and I loved just chat popping off over her wow.
Being excited about
Aw.
your animals. Yeah. That was great.
That was great.
Yeah, the animals were a fantastic thing about hubs.
For sure. Not really something that can translate well back to
I still want a Zeldathon pet. I've said it. I said it before
Be so
in meeting
nice.
chats. Like MC, I want a Zeldathon pet. Make it happen.
We'd have to get an otter though to be on
Oh my
brand.
god, that would be cute.
We need to install like a tank in Stream Room for just the week that we were there.
Aw.
Otter cam.
Otter cam. Just for the otter cam. Well, anyway, I am out of questions, and I believe you are too, Monika.
Yeah, we tag teamed our questions pretty well. Thank
We
you for
did.
answering all of them, Inka, and taking the time
Yeah.
to be our interview and let us know a little bit about the behind the scenes magic that the coordination queen used to pull off the
Aw.
EU hub.
For sure.
Yeah, it was fun being here.
Thanks so much. And thank you to Danny Music as well for
Of
our
course.
theme music for the intro and outro in the podcast. I love hearing it every time. I get so excited.
I do too. But yeah.
Thanks, EJ, for hanging out too and for doing the editing for the podcast because,
course.
this one is going to be a little wild. in the middle.
No one will ever know. People see, like, you say that now, but like, people who are not listening to this live are going to be listening to that and be like, what do you mean? This episode was wild?
What?
This episode was normal. So like, you just made yourself look silly there. Congratulations.
Or you could make life for yourself easy and leave everything in.
Just not cut anything.
AJ's going to leave just that part of me at the end in and laugh at it. And
Yep.
then only the behind the scenes live viewers will know.
Only
So
they'll
thank
know.
you for
Only they'll
Oh
know.
no. Thank you for those of you who tune in live
Of
to get the
course.
behind the scenes, the full takes.
And
And to those of you who are downloading it everywhere.
yeah, be sure to subscribe to us, follow us on your podcast streaming platform of choice. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, all the big ones and all the little ones too. We're everywhere. So be sure to hit us up there. Give us a like and a subscribe. I believe it's called subscribe on those platforms. I believe you can leave comments as well. Leave us a comment. Leave us a 5-star rating on the ones where you can do that. And
a rave review is much appreciated.
very, And I think that'll do it. So I'm gonna say the magic words this time. Actually, I'm
Yeah,
feeling
go
like
for it.
swapping it up. Thank you everyone so much for watching and for tuning in. Um, and remember that it is never too late to be a first time donor. Thank you.